I never thought a simple favor could change everything. When Mark called, his voice was rushed, almost desperate. "Bro, I need a favor. Can you pick up Emily from the airport? I'm stuck at work." I hesitated. It wasn't like I had plans, but something about it felt off. Maybe it was the way Mark sounded or how he almost begged. Still, I said yes. Mark was my best friend. We had each other's backs since college. What's picking up his girlfriend compared to years of loyalty? I arrived at the airport a little early. The terminal buzzed with people, couples reuniting, friends embracing. I spotted her before she saw me. Emily. Tall, effortlessly beautiful, with the kind of presence that turned heads. Her pictures didn't do her justice. She carried herself with confidence, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders, eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on me. "You must be Jake," she said with a smile, pulling her suitcase closer. "Mark's told me a lot about you." "Hopefully the good stuff," I replied, trying to keep my voice casual. We walked toward the parking lot, conversation flowing easier than I expected. She wasn't just beautiful, she was engaging, witty, the kind of person who made you want to keep talking just to hear what she'd say next. Caught me off guard. During the drive, we talked about everything. Music, travel, even embarrassing stories about Mark. She had this laugh, soft but full of life, and each time I heard it, something twisted in my chest. I shouldn't be noticing these things. "You're not what I expected," she said suddenly. I glanced at her. "What do you mean?" She shrugged, looking out the window. "I don't know. Mark always described you as his crazy, reckless friend. But you're different." I didn't know how to respond to that. It shouldn't have mattered. But it did. As we pulled up to Mark's place, she turned to me, her expression unreadable. "Thanks for the ride, Jake. I really appreciate it." "No problem. Anytime." The words left my mouth too easily. She stepped out, grabbing her suitcase. I should have left, should have driven off without a second thought. But I found myself watching her until she disappeared inside. Only then did I force myself to leave. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling. It wasn't attraction, at least not just that. It was something deeper, something that felt dangerous. I told myself it was nothing, that I was imagining things. But I was wrong. Mark invited me over a few days later. Just a casual hangout, a couple of beers, nothing unusual. When I walked in, Emily was there, sitting on the couch with her legs tucked under her. She looked up, smiled. A simple gesture, yet something about it felt intentional. "Jake, glad you could make it," Mark said, slapping me on the back. Emily's eyes lingered on me for a second longer than they should have. I ignored it. Had to. We sat around talking about nothing and everything. Mark went on about work, about some annoying client. I nodded along, but my attention kept shifting. Emily wasn't doing much, just sitting there listening, but I felt her presence more than anything else in that room. At one point, Mark got up to take a phone call, leaving us alone. The room suddenly felt smaller. Emily picked up her drink, swirling the liquid around before speaking. "You always this quiet?" I smirked, taking a sip of my beer. "Depends on the company." She tilted her head slightly, studying me. "You don't have to be weird around me, you know. I feel like you're trying too hard to act normal." I let out a short laugh. "I am normal." She mused, unconvinced. "Guess I'll have to figure you out." Mark walked back in before I could respond. The conversation shifted back, but something had already changed. Couple of days later, I got a message from Emily. "Hey, can you do me a favor?" I hesitated before replying. "What's up? Can you help me pick up something from my place?" "It's for Mark." Sounded innocent enough. So why did I feel like it wasn't? When I arrived, she greeted me at the door, barefoot, wearing a simple tank top and shorts. "Casual. Too casual." "Come in," she said, stepping aside. I did. Her apartment smelled faintly of vanilla. It was tidy, except for a few books scattered on the coffee table. She walked ahead, disappearing into another room. I forced myself to stay near the entrance. "You want a drink?" she called out. "I'm good." She came back, holding a glass of wine. Mark said you don't drink wine. Is that true? Shrugged. Never really got into it. She smirked, sitting on the couch. You're hard to read, Jake. I exhaled sharply. Look, what exactly am I picking up for Mark? She took a slow sip, watching me over the rim of her glass. Oh, right. It's in my room. I should have left right then. Should have made some excuse. Instead, I stood there, frozen, while she walked past me, her shoulder brushing against mine. The moment stretched, silent and heavy. Then she turned, barely a breath away. Tell me something. I swallowed hard. What? Do you think about me? Everything inside me screamed to walk away. But I didn't. And that was my first mistake. I should have lied. Should have said no, laughed it off, turned around and walked out. But I didn't. Yes, I admitted, the word coming out before I could stop it. Emily's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes shifted. Quiet understanding. Neither of us moved. The air felt thick, charged with something we both knew was wrong but couldn't ignore. You think Mark suspects anything? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. There's nothing to suspect, I said, trying to convince myself more than her. She tilted her head, considering me. That's not an answer. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling sharply. Emily, I just want to know, she interrupted, stepping closer. If things were different, would you? I didn't need her to finish the question. I already knew what she was asking. And I hated that my answer wasn't the one it should be. Her fingers brushed against mine, light, hesitant. I should have pulled away. Instead, I closed the distance. The first kiss was slow, testing, as if we were both waiting for the other to stop it. But neither of us did. The hesitation vanished. My hands gripped her waist, pulling her closer. Her nails dragged along my skin, setting every nerve on fire. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew there was no turning back. But in that moment I didn't care. When it was over, we didn't speak. She rested her head against my chest, our breathing still uneven. I stared at the ceiling, already feeling the weight of what we'd done. Her phone buzzed. She tensed but didn't move right away. Finally, she reached for it. Message from Mark. Be home soon. Reality hit me like a train. I should go, I muttered, sitting up. Emily touched my arm. Jake. I shook my head. This can't happen again. She didn't argue. But the way she looked at me told me we both knew that was a lie. For days, I tried to pretend it never happened. I avoided her texts, made excuses to Mark. But it didn't matter. The next time I saw her, it took less than 5 minutes for everything to fall apart again. We weren't just crossing the line anymore. We had already destroyed it. Guilt had a way of creeping in when I least expected it. At night when I tried to sleep. In the silence after she left. When Mark called, completely unaware of the betrayal happening right under his nose. I thought about ending it. 100 times I told myself to stop. But every time she texted, every time she found an excuse to see me, I gave in. It wasn't just the physical pull anymore. It was the way she looked at me, the way she listened, the way she made me feel like the only person who mattered. Mark started noticing something was off. He wasn't stupid. You've been acting weird, he said one night while we were having drinks. Distracted. Everything okay? Yeah, I lied. Just work stuff. He nodded, but his eyes lingered on me for a second too long. Then one night it all fell apart. Emily and I had been reckless, meeting whenever we could, thinking we were careful. We weren't. Mark showed up unannounced. I was at Emily's place, sitting on the couch, her head resting on my shoulder. The knock on the door made her freeze. Her phone was across the room. Neither of us had checked it. My stomach dropped. Emily, you home? Mark's voice. Panic flashed in her eyes. My mind raced. There was no way out. She stood, smoothing her clothes, trying to compose herself. I moved to the other side of the room just as she opened the door. Mark stepped inside. His expression relaxed at first, but then he saw me. His face changed in an instant. Confusion. Realization. He looked between us. Silence stretched. What the hell is this? His voice was quiet, controlled, but I could hear the anger beneath it. Emily opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Mark turned to me. Tell me this isn't what it looks like. I wanted to. I wanted to say anything that would make it untrue. But there was nothing left to say. His fist connected before I even saw it coming. I hit the ground hard, tasting blood. Emily screamed his name, grabbing his arm, but he shook her off. How long? He demanded. I wiped my mouth, swallowing the pain. Mark. Wow. Long. I couldn't answer. He let out a bitter laugh, shaking his head. You were my best friend. I had nothing to say. Nothing that would fix this. He left without another word. Emily sat down on the couch, head in her hands. Felt sick. This was a mistake, I muttered. She looked up at me, her eyes wet. Do you really believe that? I didn't answer. Because no matter how much I wanted to, I wasn't sure I did. But it didn't matter. It was over.